You are what I'm looking for. I know what I'm looking for.
In today's video, we're going to use some paper scraps to create some beautiful projects. For my first scrap project, I'm going to pull out my template book, a book about boxes and bags. And this book is filled with templates to create just that, different size boxes and bags. So I'm going to flip through my book and look for a mini gift bag. This template will create a gift bag that measures 4 by 5 by 2 inches wide. So I'm going to dig through my scraps here. My template tells me that I need 2 pieces of pattern paper that measures 8 by 8. So I'm just kind of digging through and seeing what I can find that will coordinate nicely together since I need 2 pieces. So I grabbed a couple of pieces of this beautiful watercolor looking pastel backgrounds, and I'm just going to trim them both down to 8 by 8 inches. And if I have any other scraps left over from this project, I can either toss them. Or file them back away with my other scraps. Once I have both of those pieces cut out, I'll move back over to my template book and pull out my scoreboard. And I'm going to take a look at the steps in my template, and it's going to tell me that I need to score both pages the same. If the orientation of my page matters, then I need to make sure that I'm making my first score with the orientation with the pattern facing to the left. So in this case, I'd like that little bit of teal as the top of my page. And I'm going to make my first score at 1 inch. And then I'm going to rotate the cardstock 1 turn to the left and score at 2 inches. Rotate again and score at 2 inches, and then rotate 1 more time and score at 2 inches. So we get 1 inch across the top and 2 inches around all 3 of the other sides. And I'll do that to both pieces of paper, making them scored the exact same. So once that's done, I'm going to pull my template book back in, and it's going to tell me that I need to cut away a couple of areas, and they're marked in my template here as light blue. So I need to cut off the 2 little bottom squares on the first piece of paper. It doesn't matter which one, whichever one you choose, but they both need to be cut a little bit different. So I'm going to cut off both of those little corner squares, and then that's going to be it for the first piece. And then for the second piece, we need to make little cuts in the side. So right at the very bottom, in the same area where we cut away on the first piece, instead of cutting away that little square, we're going to make a few little angled cuts across the paper until we reach that little score mark. And we're just going to cut away the horizontal score line. Okay? So you're not really going to see this. It doesn't matter if it's perfect or straight. You're going to cover this up. All right, so I'm going to flip the page of my template. The next step here is to crease all of the score marks. Now, if you have double-sided paper, you could take this 1 inch strip and fold it towards the outside for a decorative look. In this case, I have single-sided paper, so I'm going to fold that little 1 inch strip towards the inside. So I'll crease all of my folds here. Now you want to take your time here and make sure that your scores are nice and straight so that when we put the box together, everything will be lined up. So once all of my scores are all creased down, I'm going to apply some adhesive to seal down that 1 inch strip. Okay, so I'm just doing that to both pieces. I'm just going to run some dot liner here. You can use whatever you have. You can use liquid glue, double-sided tape. It doesn't really matter. So, and I'll just grab my bone folder and press in that adhesive. And again, doing that to both sides. And because now we're going to fold this, those pieces are a little bit thicker. So I come back in with my bone folder and recrease those little sides to make sure that they're nice and straight and we're not going to have any issues. So the next step here is to adhere the 2 bottom pieces together. So we're going to take those little 1 inch strips and turn one on the left and one on the right, and then adhere everything together on the bottom. So now here's where you can determine which piece of paper you want on the outside, which one you want on the inside. It doesn't really matter. If you have 2 of the same paper, again, it doesn't matter, but you can do whatever you like. So I've chosen to put the darker watercolor paper on the outside, and I'll just adhere that down, press everything in with my bone folder, and then I'll flip the page in my template, and this gives us the final result. It shows us what our bag will look like when we're done. So the last step is to apply adhesive on the sides and sandwich those little tabs in between the two pieces that will be the side of the box. So a little something like this. So I'm going to go ahead and apply adhesive to one side of my bag, and as well as that little tab there. I'll apply adhesive, and then I'm going to stand everything up and adhere it together. So again, I'm going to sandwich that little piece in between the two pieces of cardstock. I'll apply adhesive to the second piece there and get everything adhered in. Now, my advice to you is to apply all of the adhesive at once. I had to come back and take my bag apart because I couldn't get the adhesive on without bending the cardstock. So I just opened it back up and applied adhesive to the other side. Back to square one, I'm going to start folding everything up together. So I'm just going to sandwich little flaps in between the two pieces and adhere everything together. I'll grab my bone folder and press in all that adhesive, make sure that my bag is adhered together nicely, and then our bag is complete. So for the finishing touches, I like to sort of cinch the top of the bag. I just like to gently squeeze it and pinch it together, just using my finger to guide the cardstock inwards. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of that scrap paper that's left over and cut off 2 half-inch strips. I don't know how long they are. I just cut them as long as the paper was. And then I applied a little bit of adhesive to both ends of the cardstock and then wrapped it around the bag to create a handle. And I did that to both sides. So there we go. Our little tiny gift bag project is complete with little handles, and it's ready to gift. And we only used scraps to create this project. How simple and easy is that? Okay, for my second scrap project, I'm going to pull in my Jen-Velope template reference book. This book is filled with templates for regular envelopes and card bases. So there's all different sizes in here. For today's video, I'm going to use the A2 Jen-Velope template reference. I'm going to reach into my scrap bag and find a piece of cardstock that's going to be big enough for the template that I need. So I need a piece that measures 8 by 10 1/4. So I found a nice big piece here, and I'm going to grab my trimmer and I'm going to cut this down to 8 inches by 10 1/4 inches. This is going to be a simple envelope, nothing complicated here. It is the easiest project ever. So once this is cut down to the size that I want, I'm going to pull in my scoreboard and take a look at my measurements again. So it tells me I need to score across the 8-inch side at 1 inch and then 7 inches. And then on the 10 1/4 inch side, we need to score at 2 1/4 and 7 inches. Okay, so that's it for scoring. Now, referring to the template, there are a couple of areas that we need to cut away. And in the template here, they're marked dark blue. So we're going to cut away all 4 of those corners. So I'm just going to grab my scissors here and make quick, sharp cuts and make sure that they're nice and straight and get all 4 of those corners cut away. So I'm just following along those score lines as my guide. And then next, we're going to cut off the little corners as noted in the template guide. We're just going to angle cut each of these little corners. So we're going to flip it around, do both sides, angle cut both little corners there. And then that's it for cutting and scoring. It's time to put this little envelope together. So we'll start by creasing all of the folds. I'll grab my bone folder and crease in those folds, making sure that they are nice and straight. And we get nice sharp creases. And then I'll fold down the little flap there and crease that fold. And then the next step is to apply adhesive to seal this envelope up. So the adhesive we're going to apply on the bottom part, which is larger than the top piece. So that little piece there is a little bit larger. So we'll apply adhesive on the left and right, and then fold the bottom up and press in the adhesive. And then there we go. If you have any excess hanging off, you can always come in and trim that little bit of extra with your scissors. And then voila, our envelope is complete. I'm going to grab a corner rounder and just round the little flaps here just for a finishing look. And our quick and simple envelope is complete using scraps. So this fits an A2 size standard note card. I have a A2 card base here, and I'm just going to slip it in, make sure that it fits with no issues, and beautiful. So now I've got a couple of scraps left over from my scrap, and I'm going to make a card that coordinates with this envelope. I'm going to flip through my pile of cut-aparts and ephemera that I created while sorting all of my scraps. And I'm just going to dig through here and see if I can find a sentiment or something that can go on the front of this card that will coordinate with my pattern paper. And I know there are some cut-aparts in here from the very same paper pack that this tropical image came from. So I found a cut apart that says "Go Get 'em," and it's got some gold foil and some of those tropical leaves in the background there. And I thought that's perfect. So let's turn this into a card. So I'm just kind of getting my footing here. I'm just kind of testing out the different scraps that I have and the layout that I want on my card. And I decided to pull in a piece of green scrap cardstock from my colored cardstock bin. So this is another scrap bin that I created in my previous video. I thought that this would pull everything together nicely. So I'm going to grab a piece of that green scrap and I'm going to cut it down to fit on the front of my card base. So I'm cutting this down to 4 by 5¼ inches. And that's going to give me a nice little 1/4 inch border all the way around my card base. And then I'm going to cut the little strip here down to 5 inches. And then adhere everything to my card base, starting with that colored cardstock. I'll get that lined up in the center. I'll press in all of that adhesive and then get my little strip lined up to the left side of my card base. And then adhere down my sentiment, sort of on the bottom right-hand side. And then finally, I have one little scrap left over that I'm going to adhere on the inside of my card base so that I tie everything in together from the envelope to the outside of the card and then to the inside of the card. And there we go. We have a perfectly matching envelope and card created from scraps. So that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend it here with me. I appreciate the support as always. If you're interested in my template books, you can find them linked in the description box down below. These are available for digital download or physical purchase. Coming up on screen are some videos I think you may enjoy. Have yourself a lovely day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!